I'm asking this honestly, not trying to start any drama or be cynical, even though it's how I feel right now. I'm a straight woman, and lately I've been questioning the purpose of dating men. Please bear with me. I've been in relationships that seemed healthy. There was love, affection, and commitment, but something always felt off. It was like the person I was with found most of their satisfaction outside the relationship, compartmentalized. I mean, pornography, emotional side connections, or other habits that slowly start affecting the relationship in real ways. This is how it presents for me. 1. They have already satisfied themselves earlier in the day, so the sex and desire drop-off is brutal. I start feeling like I'm being compared or hearing comparative language. Intimacy becomes more about routine than any real connection. Over time, it feels like you're sharing your relationship with a whole world of distractions and being expected to be okay with it. I know how deeply I can love someone. I know what it's like to want to give fully and be seen fully. But I've also felt the slow erosion that happens when your partner's attention is split, even if they swear everything is fine. I'm asking because am I looking for the wrong things in my dynamic with you all? I've dated blue-collar men, technology professionals, a poet, and I have many male friends. I know that men can be beautiful and brilliant, and I enjoy my connections with them, but everything turns south as soon as we move in together and the relationship requires vulnerability and effort. Story 1. Literally no one forces you to date men, though, do they? If you don't think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, then just don't date them. Story 2. You do not have to date men. You can stay single forever. Just do not be one to complain about it because it sounds like you do not actually like men. Story 3. Perhaps you should look inside and ask yourself, if I keep having the same issues in every relationship, why is this happening? It's easy to blame it on all men, but what role did you play in these relationships? Relationships are 50-50, and we choose our partners. I find it hard to believe that these men just magically become apathetic, lazy, and poor communicators right when you moved in with them. The signs were probably there beforehand, but you ignored them. It sounds like this is less of a man problem and more of a you problem. I don't mean this in a negative way. What I mean is you need to get clear on what type of man you want, what values and goals you want him to have, and then ask yourself, am I the kind of woman who the man that I want would want? What did or do you bring to the table? Are you pleasant to be with? Or are you a drag? Because if you don't offer much, then you can't get mad when you date men who don't offer much either. We generally attack what we put out and people who are a reflection of ourselves. Now, I will agree that there are a lot of apathetic, low testosterone, unambitious men in our generation who act like boys. It's sad, but there are a lot of entitled women who think they deserve a top-notch man for simply existing, and they don't offer much to a man either. The classic thing we men hear is, I have a good-paying job, I'm educated, I'm ambitious, but men don't care about any of those things. We could care less about how independent or ambitious a woman is, and women say, but you should be attracted to those qualities, as if men can't have their own preferences. So ask yourself, am I attacking the wrong types of men, and if so, why? Could it be because I'm not offering what the men I want? Story 4. If you don't feel like you are better off in a relationship, then do not date men. I went 5 years without dating a woman, and in some respects, those were the best 5 years I have had as an adult. I am now married and extremely happy. Taking time for yourself can help clarify what you need. I do not know if you are a serial relationship hopper or not, but I know that the least happy people I know are the serial relationship hoppers. Taking some time away from dating to reset and figure out what you really want could be healthy. Story 5. What would your answer be if a man who was constantly cheated on, ghosted, used for free meals, put down, led on, lied to, and manipulated by women asked the same question about women? Story 6. A better question to ask is, why should you be dating? Period. And when I say you, I don't mean people in general, I mean you. From what I have read thus far, all I see is a lot of finger-pointing and alluding to strangely esoteric concepts to which you have placed arbitrary value. None of that speaks to me as someone who truly understands anything about relationships. From my perspective, this completely dehumanizes men while somehow placing the entirety of the blame on them. Step 1 of a healthy relationship should be compatibility and understanding. Of course, if you just want a casual partner, that is a different matter. But it makes zero sense to say you want a relationship while framing the whole thing as, why isn't he eradicating his entire existence to follow my demands while I, inversely, ignore his reasons to live and not look at what I can bring to the table either? In short, this is not an issue of men. It is an issue of you not being aligned with what being in a relationship entails. Unless there is more going on here which hasn't been communicated. Story 7. I am not here to convince you to date anyone. That is a strange question, and it sounds like you are shifting the responsibility onto men. The reasons for dating are your concern, not mine. If you do not see a reason, then do not do it. It is not my issue. I date because I enjoy having that kind of connection with someone. It does not always work out as I wish, but that is life. Even if I do not find the right person to spend the rest of my life with, at least I tried. It is not the end of the world. I have many great people in my life who make it worth living. Story 8. Do or do not, your happiness is your responsibility. And remember, the only common denominator is you. Story 9. If you keep having the same problems with different people, it usually means the issue is coming from within the organization. Story 10. Like the person I was with was finding most of their satisfaction outside the relationship. Sharing your relationship with a whole world of distractions and being expected to be okay with it. This may come as a shock, but being in a relationship with someone does not make you the center of their entire universe. People have lives, hopes, dreams, and desires that will continue to exist with or without you. Get a dog or something. Story 11. Much of this post could have been written by men about women with some slight changes. That is not to be critical of what you wrote. I can confidently say, you have not found the right man yet. I realize that is cliché, but as someone with the male version of similar problems, we are literally proving that for the sole context of this post, you and I would be a better match on this specific measure of compatibility than the people we have experienced. Here is where I would make the edits. Social media, work emails, or other habits that slowly start bleeding into the relationship in real ways. This is how it presents for me. They have already gotten angry about something earlier in the day. The sex and desire drop-off is brutal. I start feeling like I am just an emotional dumping ground and punching bag. Intimacy is viewed as a chore more than about building any real connection. In closing, you are not looking for the wrong things. You are dating people with bad behaviors that have bad outcomes for you. Story 12. Maybe you should not be dating men if you need to ask what the point of it is. Also, you are the common factor in all of your relationships. Why do all your partners end up watching pornography or looking for emotional side connections? Story 13. I think this is projecting a little. You said the relationships looked healthy and not were healthy. I also feel like men should be vulnerable with you well before you even consider moving in together. It's not about what he does for work, but how he interacts interpersonally. Everyone compartmentalizes something. There's nothing inherently wrong with that for things they enjoy. My fiancée has girls' nights with some of her friends. I've hung out with them too, but girls' night isn't a compartment I'm part of, and that's fine. I like video games and she doesn't as much, so most of the time we don't play together because she isn't fully involved in that interest, and that's okay. Story 14. My advice for any woman asking this question is, do everyone a favor and please do not date men. We have enough problems to sort through in the dating world as it is. Go do your own thing and be happy. Story 15. I do not feel this question is asked in good faith, but I will provide a sincere response. If you are attracted to men but not women, and you want a companion, you have two choices. Date men until you find a good match, or choose not to have a companion and miss experiencing that in your life. Most people meet many potential partners before finding a good match, so keep trying. If you struggle to find a good partner in the long term, consider that you might be part of the problem and work with a therapist. Story 16. But everything turns south as soon as we move in together and the relationship requires vulnerability and effort. Why do you think this happens to you when it does not happen to many other women? This is not meant to be critical. If you can figure it out, it would solve your problem. Perhaps your taste in men is not as diverse as you think. Story 17. It's for the desire, isn't it? That's why people date men, right? To get that full experience. If you don't want that, join a knitting club or something. Less drama, or is it? Story 18. Not cynical, but you should consider therapy. It sounds like you went through difficult situations, and it is likely interfering with your current and future relationships. Your complaints do not seem to be about men in general, but more about a certain type of man. Maybe try dating a different type of man. Story 19. I'm in a similar situation, just on the opposite side. Wondering if there's any point to dating women whom I love. I had my beautiful family, my wife, a stepdaughter, and a biological daughter. But then my wife started spending more and more time away from us. I was very devoted, kind, patient, and caring. I forgave her for all the verbal abuse she directed at me, which I now know was because she is a deeply unhappy person. I provided her with endless acts of service, emotional support, gourmet meals, and watched the kids every time she wanted to go out and party with her dance friends, which became almost every weekend about a year before she left. I did everything I could to be the best husband and partner I could be. I even taught her new ways of intimacy she had never experienced before. I did everything right. Still, because she was never held accountable for her bad behavior as a girl and teenager, and because she runs from her biggest traumas, she felt that her beautiful family and devoted husband were a trap, a cage, when the opposite could not have been more true. All I ever wanted was a true partner and a beautiful best friend, to whom I would be the same. But from all the dates I have been on since, it just seems like women have no idea what they actually want. I would really love to meet a brave, kind, intelligent woman with a wicked sense of humor and see if we hit it off. But if those women are out there, I have not met any single ones yet. Story 20. A central goal of much dating is to find a long-term partner with whom to start a family or to satisfy needs and instincts related to this. If that main purpose is not present, it is understandable to feel the experience lacks purpose. Story 21. Need more context, but in general, relationship satisfaction is at an all-time low. Maybe reflect on how society has changed, creating the circumstances you find yourself in. Gender roles do not exist anymore. Sure, you do not have to stay home, cook, clean, or raise the children, but consider that it is only fair that men meet the same expectations. You may have a narrow view that men have degraded, but consider that women have equally degraded in quality. Quality men are out there. You just have to be a quality woman. It is not that complicated. Story 22. You have mentioned many symptoms of your relationships, not the root causes. It is difficult to identify the problem without details, but if you are encountering the same issues consistently, then you are also part of the problem. The men contribute their part, of course. If you are feeling burnt out, it might be helpful to take a break and reflect on how you could improve your relationships on your end. Men often turn to hobbies, work, or addictions more frequently if they do not feel connected or safe with their significant other. Do not confuse this with hobbies or work being bad. Addictions like pornography are also just another form of coping with pain or life. They are symptoms but are not always directly linked to the relationship. I am curious about how you handle conflicts in your relationships. Are there many judgments, anger, anxiety, or projection directed at each other? Do you express your needs gently, such as saying, "Hey, I want to spend time with you"? Or is it passive-aggressive, like, "You never spend time with me and would rather play video games or engage in some other hobby"? It is easy to blame. It is hard to pause, self-reflect, and take ownership of your half of the relationship. Story 23. Don't stay alone. Why should men have to answer this question? They have already gotten off earlier in the day. The sex and desire drop-off is brutal. I start feeling like I am being compared or using comparing language. So it's your problem then. Over time, it starts to feel like you are sharing your relationship with a whole world of distractions. It feels that way, but you have not made any indication that the man did or said anything to bring on this feeling besides stroking his own genitals. It is your insecurity. I know what it is like to want to give fully and be seen fully. What does this even mean? But I have also felt the slow erosion that happens when your partner's attention is split, even if they swear everything is fine. That is you deciding that is happening. Am I looking for the wrong things in my dynamic with you all? There is no dynamic with you all. You have dated certain men, they watched pornography and masturbated, and you felt like that was cheating. You have not indicated that anything else was wrong. But everything turns south as soon as we move in together and the relationship requires vulnerability and effort. More loaded expressions. You expect one thing, a man does his own thing, you feel some type of way about it, and now you expect men to tell you why you should date men. You should not. Just be alone. Story 24. Is this after having one bad experience with one low-quality person, or at least a few? Go lesbian, have fun, or be sexual either way. Feel free to leave the male dating pool. Story 25. I'm asking this because am I looking for the wrong things in my dynamic with you all? I've dated blue-collar men, technology professionals, a poet, and have many male friends. I know that men can be beautiful and brilliant, and I enjoy my connections with them, but everything turns sour as soon as we move in together and the relationship requires vulnerability and effort. It seems this is the real problem, and it doesn't seem connected to the rest of the post. What happens when people move in together that makes it turn sour? Also, I have seen others get really aggravated when men make their partner their whole world and their only source of emotional and physical support. I think you are probably dealing with men who have either been taught or otherwise do not want to be entirely codependent with their partners. Mismatched expectations, I guess. Story 26. Personal thoughts on this? I think you are asking the wrong question and also the wrong audience. If you need to be convinced to date someone, anyone, it sounds to me that you are not interested in dating men. We can all give our opinions and maybe influence yours. However, at the end of the day, you should ask yourself that. Take some time to figure yourself out. Society has conditioned us to believe that we need to be with someone to be happy always. Find out what is right for you. Story 27. I felt the same way about women. I have been in a few serious relationships and was told I was amazing, perfect, and then they left. I lost hope for a bit, but we cannot base the entire population on such a small sample size. It is tough, but there are good men out there who are devoted to their women and will put in the effort to do so. Similarly, I believe there are women who will appreciate me for who I really am, ignoring the nonsense most women follow on social media. Belief takes us a long way. Once you lose belief, you lose hope. So do not lose your belief in finding a good man. I have set extremely high standards because I know what I deserve and will not take less. This way, it is harder for me to get hurt, and I do not waste my time or the other person's. Story 28. If you keep having the same problems in every relationship, it probably is not the other person every time. It sounds like you need to work on yourself and figure out why you keep having this issue. Story 29. People in general, not just men, often struggle to navigate the many directions that life can pull you. It doesn't just feel like you're sharing your relationship with a whole world of distractions. You are sharing them. The problem is societal. Do you think men don't get compared, or that they have the magical formula for connection? Life teaches you to be hard, and the softest side you're allowed to have is in a relationship, but by then you're so used to compartmentalizing that true intimacy is difficult for many people. The truth is, we're like porcupines afraid to get closer to each other because we'll hurt one another. Story 30. I say this with all sympathy for the struggles you've been having, but if the issue is all of these men, then it's not all of these men. It's you. I think about why things start to dry up and what you may be doing to move that along. Be brutally honest. If you have a guy friend or two that you haven't dated, ask them what they think, and by all means, don't get upset at them for being brutally honest. If you are still in contact with an ex or two, ask them why it went bad, and again, don't get defensive. You say it tends to happen after you move in together. How do you change when you move in with someone? If you don't think you change, then what is it about you that comes to light when they move in with you? If none of this works, then try changing your routine to see if maybe that means meeting a different kind of guy. You mentioned the types of guys you've dated mainly by their profession. Is that really what defines the kind of guy you want to date, their job? I've been with my wife for 28 years and married for 21. I did date a few people before that, but that was before the internet. I don't know about dating in an online world, But I do know that when I was young and met people in person instead of virtually, getting to know them face to face and being in the midst of all our friends was tough. Sure, but it was still enjoyable. You don't mention your age, but my oldest son is 19 and dating a girl now. They seem happy and haven't spent a minute dating online. That's all I've got. But I wish you the very best of luck. Story 31. Way back in history, courtship happened for a brief time, and then women married men for childbearing and economic reasons, not necessarily for love. Now that women can make their own money, bear children without a romantic partner, but not without male contribution, and choose a partner of any gender, the question you have to ask yourself is, what do I want from a man that I can't get by myself? Here are some potential qualities of the type of man you might desire. Someone who accepts me for who I am, flaws and all, loves every part of me, not just the physical aspects. In other words, someone who can give me physical and sexual pleasure without requiring me to do something sexual for him. Listens to me without judging, belittling, or insulting. Knows how to tease without being mean. Shows appreciation for the things I do. Respects my boundaries. Protects me from danger. Takes responsibility for his actions. Forgives me when I need to take responsibility for my actions. Trusts me. Meets my physical and emotional needs. Understands that physical intimacy is about pleasure and connection for both people, not just for him. Understand that no man is perfect. Neither are you. But these traits are most likely what you are looking for. He is also probably looking for these traits in you, although he may want to have sex with you every now and then. Finally, although it is your choice whether to accept or not, you can distinguish the men who want you from those who want to use you for sex by requiring them to marry you before being intimate. Clear and open communication is vital. Make it clear what you expect from him, and he should be clear about what he expects from you. Story 32. This is why I prefer not dating in the Western world. It is the only part of the world where women often question their gender roles and have misguided ideas. Regarding your particular case, it sounds like you have exceeded your maximum number of partners, and now your ability to form a strong emotional bond is impaired. Story 33. Why should men even bother with women? Look in the mirror. The common denominator for all the relationships that failed is you. The best and only advice I can give is to sit down, review your history, and consider what you can change or improve to achieve the results you want. Story 34. You do not need to. Many find it fulfilling, so they choose to do it. If you do not want to, then you do not have to. Your experiences with those men are not representative of your potential experience with a future partner. Story 35. Having mutual understanding and communication is a significant part of an intimate and emotional relationship. Story 36. You really do not have to, especially when you do not feel like it. But if you must, do not date men. Date someone you love and who loves you back. Story 37. Dating is difficult, exhausting, and full of trial and error. Nothing worth living and dying for is easy. Eventually, you will find the right man for you. Many men may be unpleasant now, remain so later, or improve over time. You just have to meet the right man at the right time. This is not an excuse for bad behavior, but it is important to understand how difficult it is today to be a man. The world rarely sympathizes with men. There are few communal support systems for men. Men are often criticized simply for existing, and many are raised by women who may not provide the guidance needed to develop positive masculinity. No one is guiding boys and teaching them how to become good men. As a result, some men behave poorly. Story 38. I've thought of this as well, but vice versa. This is just stuff I have observed and experienced. That's the trouble with dating, unfortunately. There are lots of temptations and many things that can replace us. For men, it can be pornography, escorts, or subscription-based content platforms. For women, it can be social media and the amount of attention and validation. These all scratch the itch but come nowhere close to the real thing. We are living in a world with all these alternatives, and it is extremely easy to fall into. In a way, we don't need each other as much as our ancestors did in times of survival. It is coming down to choice, which is a whole different ball game. We are not living in a society that promotes healthy, intimate relationships either. Despite all that, there are people out there who want what you want. You just have to weed them out. Story 39. The simple answer is that you are a straight woman. You are attracted to them, so wanting to date them is natural. If your partner is getting most of the satisfaction and peace outside the relationship, you need to talk with him and ask if that is the case. Then see how you both can resolve this. If you are happy on your own, by all means, be on your own. There is nothing wrong with that. If you weigh both options and being single is best, do not date. Story 40. Not trying to be rude, but from the male perspective, if you think dating men is difficult, you should try dating a woman. With all the entitlement, bad attitudes, need for attention and social validation, being glued to their phone every waking moment, temperamental and moody. Believe me, it doesn't get any better on our side either. As men, we rarely feel we can actually talk to you. Maybe you are the problem if it keeps happening repeatedly and you are making them feel this way. From my experience, I can't ever give any kind of criticism, constructive or not. It's always taken badly and causes a huge fight no matter how well-intentioned. If I can't give you true feedback, then you can't give me what I truly need. That causes me to lose interest in you and in doing those things that show I care. Also, from my experience, the lack of intimacy has always started with the women and the excuses to not have sex. It gets to a point where you don't even care anymore. Why try to initiate when I expect to be turned down? Porn never says no or claims a headache. It will do things you won't let me do anymore. Again, it causes you to lose interest in even being in the relationship at all. You just get to a point where it's habit that keeps you together. Story 41. Until you start with the mindset of actually wanting to date, you should not date regardless of gender. Story 42. I'm asking this honestly, not trying to start any drama or be cynical. Even though it's how I feel right now. I'm a straight woman, and lately I've been questioning what the point is in dating men. Please bear with me. I've been in relationships that looked healthy. There was love, affection, and commitment, but something always felt off. It felt like the person I was with found most of their satisfaction outside the relationship, compartmentalized. Pornography, emotional side connections, or other habits that slowly start bleeding into the relationship in real ways. This is how it presents for me. 1. They've already gotten off earlier in the day. The sex and desire drop-off is brutal. I start feeling like I'm being compared or that comparing language is used. Intimacy becomes more about routine than any real connection. Over time, it starts to feel like you're sharing your relationship with a whole world of distractions and being expected to be okay with it. I know how deeply I can love someone. I know what it's like to want to give fully and be seen fully. But I've also felt the slow erosion that happens when your partner's attention is split, even if they swear everything is fine. So I'm here asking if I am looking for the wrong things in my dynamic with everyone. I've dated blue-collar men, technology professionals, a poet, and I have many male friends. I know that men can be beautiful and brilliant, and I enjoy my connections with them, but everything turns sour as soon as we move in together and the relationship requires vulnerability and effort. Story 43. You need to come up with an answer yourself. I only date men because emotionally, sexually, and intellectually, that is what works for me. Story 44. Oh my God. Yes, I understand you. Little reliability, almost void of emotions after a short time span, and I even saw cases of them actively working on making it unbearable so she would give up. Story 45. I think this is just how men are socialized. As a man who absolutely needs, and thankfully has, the kind of relationship you describe, I still find it frustrating to find other men to be friends with. I have only met one other man in my life with whom I feel I can have a real friendship connection, and where he isn't holding back because of some fear or dysfunction that he's not manly enough to. We've created severely disabled men in our society who aren't emotionally intelligent, are far too selfish and entitled, and who are totally disconnected from the experience of women. Men don't have the communication skills or the emotional skills to navigate life effectively. It's totally bizarre. So why date men? No idea. I think the only group that thinks men are so fantastic is other men. But why? What do men have to offer that's of real tangible value? Do you find women attractive? If you are lucky enough to, that's a solution. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.